Hello everyone. So we can now continue our lesson now. So this is now the part 4 of curve fittings. Okay, so this is the activity I have presented now last time, and let's now proceed with our next topic. So this is our topic: fitting a polynomial curve to a set of points by the method of least squares. Now, so in the first part, I have discussed about um, fitting fitting a line to a set of points. Second part, I have discussed fitting an exponential curve to a set of points. Third, fitting a power curve to a set of points. This time, fitting a polynomial curve to a set of points using the method of least squares. Okay, so suppose we wish to fit a curve whose equation is this. So this is a polynomial function, no? So this is the polynomial function. So this is to be obtained, no? This equation is to be obtained. This is our goal, okay? So this is y hat equals to z1 plus z2x plus z sub 3x squared and so forth until we reach z sub m x sub x raised to m minus 1. So we wish to fit this curve, no? The equation of this curve, no? To the endpoints, no? So we have here endpoints. So we have x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2 until reaching x sub n, y sub n. So there is a big possibility that such curve will not pass through an each indicated point. So for example, if this is the example, I have here an x and y plane wherein the points are scattered. No? So as you notice, there seems to be a pattern of points. Okay, so this is x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, x sub 3, y sub 3, and so forth. And this is now the approximated curve. And we are to fit now a polynomial curve to this set of points. No? So this is the equation of this curve should be obtained. No? And this is the general equation of this curve. No? That fits a set of points. No? So let us continue now. So by the way, we have z sub 1 here as our parameter, z sub 2, z sub 3, until z sub m. So those are the parameters to be determined, no? So parameter z1, parameter z sub 2, parameter z sub 3, and so forth. So those parameters are to be determined. So that is our goal. So we can determine those applying the method of least squares, no? So in here, at x sub I, y sub I, there is a greater chance that y sub I is not equal to y sub I hat, no? Thus, we can compute the discrepancy or deviation. So as you notice here, for instance, let's consider I equals to 1. So this is x sub 1 or any point, let's say x sub 4. Suppose I chose I equals 4. Suppose I chose I equals 4. So if I is 4, this is now the point to consider. Now this point. And as you notice, um, the point does not pass through the curve, no? Or should I say, the curve does not pass through on the point x sub 4, y sub 4. Okay, it's not passing through this point, the curve. So this is our approximated curve, no? And in this case, this is the actual point x sub 4, y sub 4, and below it is the actual point, is the approximated point, I mean. Okay, so this is now the point x sub 4, y sub 4 hat, no? X sub 4, y sub 4 hat, no? So as you notice, we have, so as stated here, there is a greater chance that y sub I is not equal to y sub I hat. Okay, so this is the example that y sub I is not equal to y sub I hat for I equals to 4, no? So y sub 4, okay, is not equal to y sub 4 hat, okay, because this is from the x-axis above it until reaching x sub 4, y sub 4. So this is now the distance y sub 4, okay. And then on the other hand, this distance, okay, so this distance is y sub 4 hat, y sub 4 hat, and there is now discrepancy between the two, or deviation. So this is now delta sub 4. Okay, there is now, this is now delta sub 4. And delta sub 4 is simply y sub 4 minus y sub 4 hat. Okay, so applying this formula, no, for the deviation. Okay, so this is applied to all points, no? X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and so forth, no? So in this example, I only have 7 points, no? I only consider 7 points. But we can have several points, more than 7 points, okay? So we proceed. So if the deviation at any point, or the deviation at any point is 0, no? Let's say at point x sub 1, y sub 1, the deviation is 0, then x sub 1, x sub I, y sub I lies on the curve, whose equation is this one, okay? So y hat equals to z1 plus z2x plus and so forth, okay? So meaning, if the deviation is 0, so if this is 0, this means that the coordinate y sub I is equal to the coordinate y sub I hat. So they are equal, okay? So that is only true if the deviation is 0. So the interpretation is that the point x sub I, y sub I lies on the curve, lies on the polynomial curve. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, dumadaan yung curve sa point na yon. Okay? Nagpa-pass through siya sa point na yon. So, kumbaga, kung deviation ay 0, nandito siya. No? Nasa mismong curve yung point. No? Okay? So, ito yung ating curve and it passes through this point if the deviation is 0. Okay? So, we can proceed. So, and also satisfies the equation, by the way, ito. And also satisfies the equation y equals z1 plus z2x and so forth. Okay? Kasi nga, y sub I is equals to y sub I hat. Therefore, yung equation ng y ay equal sa equation ng y hat. No? Yung equation ng actual function ay equal sa equation ng approximating function. Okay? If the deviation is 0. Okay? Sa point lang na isa. Sa point lang na isa yon, no? So, kung lahat ng points nasa curve, okay, this is always true. That y equals to y hat. Okay? Pero kung isang point lang ang ating consider, totoo lang to, itong dalawa, no? Sa point na to. Kapag ka 0 yung deviation. Okay? Totoo na yung statement na to. Okay? Consider yung ibang points, pwedeng totoo yan o pwede rin hindi. Yung statement na nakasulat na yan. Okay? Alright, so let's move on. So to measure how well the curve fits the set of points as a whole, E is computed using the formula summation delta I squared over the range I equals to 1 to n. Okay, so this is the sum of the squares of the deviations. No? So the sum of the squares of the deviation, ito pa rin yung formula. Okay. So to measure how well the curve fits the set of points as a whole. Okay? Ito yung pang measure natin whether yung mga points na yan ay malayo sa curve in general or malapit sa curve in general. Masasabi natin kapag malapit sa 0 yung value ng E, malapit lahat ng points in general sa curve na to. Pag naman malalayo yung mga points, pag yung E natin malaki yung value, sobrang laki, masasabi natin na in general, malayo yung mga points sa actual curve. Malayo yung mga actual points dito sa ating approximated curve. No? So in this case, we now proceed. So this is the equation or the formula. So if E is 0, anong interpretation? All of the points lie on the curve. No? Whose equation is this? So ibig sabihin yan, lahat ng points na yan, nasa curve. Okay? If E is 0. And the equation y equals z1 plus z2x plus and so forth is also satisfied. So this is, kasi nga, E is 0. So therefore, y is always equals to y hat if E is 0. Okay? The larger the value of E, the farther the points are on the average. From the curve, this equation is this one. So, yung nga sabi ko, Pagka masyadong malaki yung value ng E, masasabi natin in general that the points are very far or far from the polynomial curve. Okay? So the least squares criterion states that so the parameters z sub 1, z sub 2, and so forth should be chosen so as to make the sum of the squares of the deviations E as small as possible. Okay? So that is the statement. No? So we should choose no, the value of the parameters so that we should choose value of the parameters so as to make the sum of the squares of the deviations, which is E, as small as possible. So we will apply differential calculus again now to determine z sub 1, z sub 2, and up to z sub n, no? So that E is minimized. Okay? Our goal is to minimize E. Okay? Our goal is to minimize E. E is minimized upon performing the least squares method. The method of least squares. So that's it. So here's the formula for the method of, here's the formula for the sum of the squares of the deviations. Okay. So kung mapapansin nyo, ito yon. If this is x sub 1, y sub 1, so nagkataon na nag-coincide, no? Okay. So sabihin niyan, delta 1, delta sub 1 is 0. Dito, yung agwat, delta sub 2 meron. Dito yung agwat na vertical distance or vertical distance, delta sub 3, delta sub 4, delta sub 5. Tapos dito, konting gap, delta sub 6, konting gap, delta sub 7. So, sa example na to, no? Okay. So, yun ang gagawin natin, no? So, kumbaga, we will minimize, no? Hanggang ma-reach yung pinakadulo. Okay? Yun ang pagkuha ng E. No? So, in here, in-express natin yung delta in terms of the coordinates y sub I and y sub I hat. No? Kasi nga, delta sub I is equals to y sub I minus y sub I hat. Okay, next, y sub I hat. No? So, is equal to z1 plus z2x plus and so forth. So, substitute lang natin. Okay. Yung equation ng ating polynomial curve. So, ito yung equation ng ating polynomial curve. Yung right side of the equation ay i-substitute natin. No? Okay, next. So, naka-square yan. Okay. So, normal equation number 1 can be obtained from this equation. We can obtain normal equation 1 from this equation. Delta E over delta Z1 equals 0. So when we take the derivative the partial derivative of e with respect to z sub 1, which is our first parameter, and then equating it to 0, now we can able to derive the first normal equation. And then, when we take the second derivative test, and if it is positive or greater than 0, meaning e is minimized. So, ibig sabihin niyan, okay, minimum value ng e ay makukuha natin. Okay? Considering the parameters dun sa equation. Okay? So, later we'll have some example, no? And then, the second normal equation can be obtained by setting delta E over delta Z sub 2 equal to 0. Okay? Okay, sabi ko ba delta? Sorry. It's del E over del Z1. It's not delta. No? The partial derivative. No? Partial derivative of E with respect to Z1. Del E over del Z sub 1. Del E over del Z sub 2 equal to 0. Where del squared E over del Z sub 2 squared is greater than 0. No? So, this is obtained, no? The second normal equation with respect to the second parameter, then equate that to 0, malalaman natin. Pag we take the second derivative of E, pag tinik natin yung second derivative ng E, ito yung makukuha natin. No? So, yung derivative nung na-derivative, yun ang second derivative. No? So, if that is greater than 0, E is also minimized. No? E is also minimized. Okay? Ito pang checking lang. E is minimized. Okay, kahit di nyo na ipakita yan, no? Okay lang naman. Kasi understood na minimum siya. Kahit alin pa yan. Kahit with respect to any variable or to any parameter, no? So in here, the nth normal equation can be obtained by setting the first derivative of e with respect to z sub n. Then equate that to 0. No? Yung first partial derivative of e with respect to z sub n. Likewise, e is also minimized. No? Pag greater than 0 yung makukuha natin sa second derivative test. No? Okay? Kaya di niya pakita yan. Kaya ano lang to for validation lang. Kung talaga minimum. Okay? Pero kahit di pakita yan, minimum yan. No? Minimum yung makukuha natin. Okay. So we can proceed. So we have here conversion of n linear equations to m normal equations. Okay. So in here, ito yung ating mga normal equations. Okay. This is the first normal equation, second normal equation, and ito yung mth normal equation. Okay. So ganyan yung, hindi ko na pinakita yung derivation ng mga yan. Pero ganyan yung kalalabasan pagka kinuha natin yung first normal equation. Ganyan na magiging equation yan. Okay, yung kalalabasan. Para sa second normal equation, pagka pinerform natin yan, in-equate natin sa 0, itong lalabas first. Pagka sinet natin ng 0 naman ito yung lalabas. Second, no? Ayan. Ito yun. Pag ginawa natin yan, makuha yung normal equation number 1, no? And so forth. So, yan, okay? So, in here, del E over del Z sub M. Pit natin sa 0. This can be derived. Okay. So, we have the M normal equations. So, such that, ito yung mga linear equations natin na given sa problem. We have n linear equations. Halimbawa, meron kang n data points, n data values, no? Let's say x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and so forth. Kung ilan man yung points natin. Okay? Ito yung mga n equations, no? So, in this case, 1, yun yung C11. Okay? Lahat ng 1. So, para naman dito, ito yung C21. Okay? So, dito, CI1. Yun dito, CN1. So, sabihin niyan, C11 equals to C1, C21, and so forth, CN1. Okay? Okay, so we can proceed. So, in this case, we have x sub 1 squared. Okay, yun yung equal sa C sub 1, 3. Okay, yung x sub 1 natin dito, yun yung equal sa C sub 1, 2. Yung z sub m natin, yung x sub 1 raised to m minus 1 natin, yun yung equal dito sa c sub 1n. Then yung y sub 1, yun yung equal sa d sub 1. Okay? D sub 1. And then we have also x sub 2 equal yan dito c sub 2, 2, no? C sub 2, 2. X sub 2 squared, C sub 2, 3. Kumbaga, nasa second row, first column, second row, second column, second row, third column, no? So, ganun siya. So, then we have x sub 2m minus 1, that is C sub 2n, no? Constant. Okay? So, ito yung ating n linear equations. Okay? Ito rin, n linear equations, no? N linear equations. Okay. Okay, reminder lang ulit, no? Pag hindi sila x sub 1, x sub 2, okay, and so forth. Kung halimbawa x yan, ito ay x squared, ito ay x raised to m minus 1. So, consider sila as variables, okay, at hindi sila linear equations. Pero kung meron silang subscript, consider silang constant. Okay? Consider silang constant. Ayan, no? Okay, so we proceed. So always remember that n is greater than m, no? So the number of linear equations dun sa data points natin, kung ilan man yung data points natin. So yun din ang number ng mga linear equations na ma-perform. Is always greater than the number of normal equations. Okay? N is always greater than m. Take note yung normal equations na yan. Ano rin sila? Linear equations din sila, no? Linear equations din sila. Okay? So, we can proceed. So, here's the problem. So by the method of least squares, fit a parabolic equation y y hat is equals to a plus bx plus cx squared to the data. Now, so we have here 5 data points, and we have the solution to the problem is we let y equal to a plus bx plus cx squared. Okay, so that is the first procedure. We let y equals to a plus bx plus cx squared. And then this will now be expressed in terms of the parameters z sub 1, z sub 2, and z sub 3. So a is equals to z sub 1, b is equal to z sub 2, c is equals to z sub 3. So at negative 318, this will be the equation that will be obtained. No? So 18 is equals to z sub 1. No? Kasi ito yon, ito yung gagamitin natin. 18 equals to z sub 1, x is negative 3. So kumbaga, ano siya ngayon? X sub 1. No? X sub 1 siya ngayon. Kaya negative 3. Ito, y sub 1. Yung 18. Kaya 18 siya doon. Okay? X is negative 3. So negative 3 squared is 9. So 9z sub 3. So this is the first linear equation. Okay. For the second linear equation, we consider negative 2 and 10. And this will be the result. Okay. Y is 10. Then x is negative 2. No? X is negative 2. And this will be the obtained equation. Okay. Next, at 0, 2. Okay. At 0, 2, substitute the values of x and y here. No? So, gawin nating 2 yung y. Gawin nating x ay 2. Ang x ay 0. Okay. Gawin natin 0 yan. So, ang sagot, ang magiging ano natin ay ganito. 2 equals z sub 1. Yan yung magiging equation. At 3, 2, no? At 3, 2, okay, yan yung magiging equation, no? At 4, 5, yan yung magiging equation. So we have 5 linear equations. So we can now proceed in converting these 5 linear equations to normal equations. So ilang normal equations ngayon ang meron tayo? Okay, m normal equations, di ba? So, paano natin malalaman kung ilan yung normal equations? Okay, ano ba to? Z sub 1, Z sub 2. Ano yung formula ng ating, yung ating polynomial approximation? No? Ano yung equation niya? Y hat equals to Z sub 1 plus Z sub 2x plus and so forth until we reach z sub n x raised to n minus 1. So, sabihin yan, kung ilan yung parameters dito sa given equation, okay, yun din yung m natin. Okay, the number of normal equations. So, we have m is equals to 3. Okay. So, these 5 linear equations, okay, will be converted to 3 normal equations. Okay. So, we proceed. So, this is the interpretation. So, yung y natin na yan. So, yung 18 na yan, Yung 18 na to ay y sub 1. So, gagawin natin siyang d sub 1. Okay? And then, itong ano naman, C11, yun yung 1. 1 C1. C12, ito yung negative 3. Okay? C13 is to yung 9. Okay? And then, we have D sub 2 equals to C sub 21 Z1 plus C sub 22 Z2 plus C sub 23 Z3. And then, this is D sub 3 equals C sub 31 Z1 plus C sub 32 Z2 plus C sub 33 Z3. Okay? So, i-follow lang natin ito. Ito, i-follow lang natin. Okay? So, originally, ganyan sila. Tapos, i-convert natin silang ganito. Okay? Okay, next. So, we have, so applying method of least squares now. Okay, so okay na to, no? So, applying method of least squares now. Here's the first normal equation. For n equals to 5 and m equals to 3. Okay, so this will be the equation, no? So replace we replace n by 5. Okay, kaya 5 yan. Okay. And then, what is m? We replace m by 3. Saan yung may m? Ito, z sub m. So, z sub 3. Okay. And then, ito naman, c sub I m. C sub I3. Ayun. So, wala na nun. So, I'm encouraging you to memorize, no? Memorize nyo to. Okay? And then, this will now be the equation. So, z sub 1, summation ci1, ci1. So, sabihin niyan, we start with I equals 1, c11, c11, plus c21, c21, plus c31, c31, until we reach c51, c51. Okay, for z sub 2, okay, so we have c12, c11, plus c22, c21 for I equals 2. For I equals 3, c3, c32, c31, hanggang ma-reach mo yung I equals 5, c52, c51. Okay? Tapos ito naman, okay, we have c13 for I equals 1, c13, c13, c11, okay? Then for I equals 2, c23, c21, until we reach c53, c51. Then ito naman, we start with I equals 1, c1, d1, c11, d2, c21, until we reach d5, c51. Okay? And then this will now be the result. Okay? This will now be our first normal equation. Okay? So, eto na, di ba, napakita ko naman kung ano yung C11, C21, C13, C11, D1, D2. Ito yon, di ba? Ito yon. Sabihin niya, ng D1 ko ay 18. Hindi sabihin nito, ang C41 ko ay 1. Di ba? Tapos dito, C53 ko ay 16. So, yun ang guide natin. Okay? So, this will now be the first normal equation. And then this for the second normal equation. Yan, ito yung ating equation. Okay? So, yan ay na-derive, di ba? Doon sa ating pag-set ng partial derivative of e with respect to z sub 2 equal to 0. Pag sinet natin ganyan, ito yung madi-derive. Okay? Okay, so doing that, we have for n equals to 5 and m equals to 3. So we replace n here by 5. Okay, lahat ng n replaced by 5. Then we replace m by 3. So ito yung m, magiging 3 siya nun. Okay, magiging 3. Okay? And then this will be the simplified for the expanded form. C11, C12, hanggang C51, C52. Then ito naman, C12, C12, C22, C22, hanggang C52, C52. Then ito naman, C13, C12, hanggang C53, C52. Then ito, D1, C12, D2, C2, C22, D5, C52. Okay, that's it. So from that, we have this now, we have this equation now. Okay, so basta ang reference lang natin ay ito. Ayan. Yan yung, ito yung mga references natin. Let's say, C sub 3 to, ano yon 0. Kasi, understood Z sub 1 plus 0 Z sub 2 plus 0 Z sub 3. No? So, sabihin na to 0 yan. Okay? So, nandiyan na lahat yan. And then, so okay na yun. So, ayan yung magiging second normal equation natin. Okay? Then, for the third normal equation, okay, ito naman, yung ating third normal equation. So, for n equals to 5 and m equals to 3, okay, so this is, we replace n by 5, and we replace m by 3. Ayan. So, then we have this equation, no? And then, this will be the result. Okay? This is the third normal equation. So, this is the third normal equation. This is the second normal equation. And the first normal equation in my previous slide, no? Ito yan. So, our objective now is to determine z sub 1, z sub 2, and z sub 3. So, we have three equations, three unknowns. It will now be easy for us to determine the unknown parameters. Okay, using any method. Pwede ka mag-Cramer's rule if you like. So, we have z sub 1 equal to a. Di ba ang original ay a, b, and c? Di ba? Y equals to a, bx, cx squared. Di ba? Ganyan siya. So, yan yung original y hat. Di ba? Y hat equals a plus bx plus cx squared. Okay? So, ito yun, di ba? Ay, sorry. Sorry sa aking background noise kung ano yung narinig nyo Okay. So, in this case, we have this equation. Now, y hat equals to a plus bx plus cx squared. Okay? Ginawa lang natin in terms of z sub 1, z sub 2, and z sub 3. So, we can now proceed. So, z sub 2, okay, is equals to b, negative 2.645. Z sub 3 equals to 0.873. That's it. So, therefore, this will now be our final answer. Y hat is equals to 1.825. Okay, B is negative 2.645, so minus 2.645x. C is 0.873 plus 0.873x squared. So, yan yung ating fitted equation, no? Dun sa set of points. Fitted equation, fitted curve equation, okay? Alright, so we have this activity for you to accomplish. Simulate the solution of the given problem using Excel such that when the given 5 data points are changed, a new correct equation is formed. No? So ito yung kanina. By the method of least squares with a parabolic equation. So isa-simulate nyo lang. Okay, so ito yung example natin. No? So by the method of least squares with a parabolic equation, y equals a plus bx plus c squared to the data. So ito yung mga points na ko. Ito yung mga points. Tapos ito yung a. So ganyan yung gagawin nyo class. No? So nilat ko lang yung a sa z1, b sa z2. Tapos meron ako ditong I. Ito yung CI1 ko, CI2. So, ito yung 5 linear equations ko na nagdepende dito. Kung ilan yung mga points na yan. No? Yung mga x values na yan. Okay? Or y values pwede rin. And then, ito naman, automatic one yan. Ito. Okay, nag-base tayo dun sa aking PowerPoint, kung ano yan. So, it's for you to discover na lang kung paano gawin, no? Okay? So, ganyan. It's for you to discover kung anong mga gagamitin nyo dito, no? Okay. And then, we have 3 linear equations na yun, no? We have 3 linear equations. Ito yung mga normal equations, no? Kasi nga, di ba, we have 3 parameters, no? Meron tayong 3 parameters, A, B, and C. So, therefore, magkakaroon ka ng 3 normal equations, no? Okay? So, yan, ang ginawa ko dito, bilangin lang niya yung may mga number dito. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1. 3 na automatic. Diba? 3 na automatic na. Okay? So, we have 3 normal equations. And then, meron tayo ditong first normal equation. Ito yung ma-obtain natin. Okay? Basta guide nyo lang yung PowerPoint. Di naman kayo maliligaw. So, ito yung mga tatlong normal equations. So, yan yung command, sum product na ginawa ko. Okay. Yan. Basta, pag ano nyo, i-discover nyo yan, i-explore nyo, no? Sum product. Kung paano nyo makukuha yung mga 3 normal equations na yan. So, kumbaga, first normal equation, j equals 1. Second normal equation, j equals 2. Third normal equation, j equals 3. Ano? And then, you can use Kramer's rule if you like. Pero ako gumamit akong Gauss-Seidel method and Gauss-Jacobi na rin. So, tapos nag-arrive ako sa mga ganitong sagot. Okay, A, B, and C. Okay? So, pwede kong express ang final answer sa 3 significant figures, no? So, pwede ko siyang express in terms of 3 significant figures. Ayan. Okay? 1.825 plus negative 2.645x plus 0.873x squared. Okay, class? I hope you get it. Good day, everyone.